Welcome to Windows on the World, bringing you cutting-edge news, empowering information, and no conspiracy theories. This is Mark Windows from windowsontheworld.net. We have a new show every Sunday on the website, and it goes out after 9 p.m. This is an audio of an article on the site called Council Tax, Pantomime Council Court Procedure. Now, having written much about council tax and had much experience of the lies and deception used by local authorities, here is some useful information on the subject and their court procedure. First of all, am I liable to pay council tax? A lot of people ask this question. Liability to pay council tax actually comes from the Poor Laws and not the 1992 Local Government Finance Act, which is what all those administering council tax will tell you. Now, being a registered person on a roll means there is a liability to pay through the registration of a person through your registration by a parish. The Poor Laws of Britain meant councils owed you a duty of care as you are their registered property through the Crown. You're a pauper. In return, you are liable to pay any taxes and have been given certain obligations. The Poor Laws meant that if you were vagrant, delinquent or unemployed or even incompetent, you could be put in front of the magistrate and dealt with accordingly. This was the slave bond which put people in the poorhouse, where you would wear the P for pauper, which has now been transferred to your passport. So check your passport type and it will state P in black capital letters, which means not only are you a pauper, but you're recognised as being dead or lost at sea. As you agreed to the terms and conditions of the passport, you've fully accepted them. What happens when you don't pay? Well, they do have choices. You can be imprisoned if you agree to it. Yes, you have to be very negligent with your property, which is your person, for that to happen. But some people eventually let the courts do this. You do not have to. The process is administrative, and in order to save money, it is not a real court matter unless they decide to go for bankruptcy or apply for a charge against your property. Now, I went through the whole process, and it is a complete scam with the Royal Courts of Justice complicit. These bankruptcy petitions can be thwarted, but as we know, if you let them do it, they will. It's only commerce after all. They can issue a summons which they print. Yes, the council print the summons. This means it has no authority, and council tax hearings are just that. They are not a court matter. This means their costs for court and issuing their summons can be easily quashed. If you pay something on your council tax before their administrative hearing, you can have the whole process put back to square one, as they cannot pursue you for the debt if you have offered remedy. As you can automatically pay money into your council tax account, they will always accept your remedy, whether they like it or not. Most of the time, councils will get most things wrong in court. That's very important. They pretty much always, in my experience and in the experience of others who have sent in information, get things wrong in court. They don't even have your case in front of them. The council hires a room in a building known as a court. If you call the court, they will know nothing about the matter and refer you back to the council. The council are often in error, so the fact that it is not a real court is a good excuse for their lies and maladministration to go unpunished. They will then print their notice of liability. This is not a writ or order and has no standing. If you ask for a copy of a court liability order for council tax, you are in for some ridiculous excuses and an indefinite silence. When you challenge the council and counterclaim against them, as I did, the bulk hearing number on their so-called summons becomes a real court case number. So in the world of administrative corner cutting and usurping the rule of law, they have to try to at least make it look authentic. When they hand the matter over to the so-called bailiffs, or really debt collectors to be more precise, we now know that in council tax cases they cannot be working for the court if it's from one of these bulk hearings. Now, these bailiffs also make up their own fees. They also state that they are acting on a court liability order. Well, they're not. They're just acting. I've had a lot of fun with so-called bailiff companies. You can too. If they try and charge you extortionate fees, you can file a Form 4 complaint against them. Take their bond number also. Well, here's a letter we sent to a council when someone was summoned for non-payment. As stated earlier, if you offer remedy before the bulk hearing by paying a small amount into your account, and the council continue with this administrative process taking you to court after they've accepted your remedy, they really have to go back to square one. So That's very important. Now here's a letter which we sent which stayed the whole process. This is to the name of Head of Revenues and Benefits for your local council. You address it to them. Following your acceptance of my offer of remedy for council tax account number and the name of the council, on being in agreement by accepting my offer of payment on date between your name and name of Head of Revenues and Benefits acting on behalf of name of council, and being informed by a qualified officer of name of council that the council may proceed under an administrative assumption through their issuing of a computer generated summons, whilst accepting my offer of payment and remedy in this matter, I must inform you of the following. Any administrative error, i.e. issuing a computer generated summons whilst being in receipt of payment and remedy, with an attempt to cause a loss to your name, will be deemed to be an abuse of court process for financial gain, fraud. This will result in counterclaim plus costs against the name of Head of Revenues and Benefits. As this potentially fraudulent and dishonourable action has now been brought to your attention, I assume that you will not proceed with actions which are not only unlawful, but are wasting the time of the courts and the Crown. Yours faithfully, then your name. Very important legal maxim here. Equity will not allow a statute to be used as a cloak for fraud, and the fraud is being done through statutes and administration. Remember to tune in every Sunday after 9 p.m. on windowsontheworld.net and check out the video archive.